Is this the best meta Set 3 has seen yet? Everything is viable. If you haven't played TFT yet, go out and play. You can do anything. Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. Today, we're going to be talking about patch 10.10's prevalent comps and why they've been so successful. Make sure to play these comps when you can, and you'll be able to get a higher rank until 10.11. As with every top comps list, getting the top comp will not guarantee you first place, but it will give you a high enough chance for a top 4 finish. Positioning, items, and scouting are still your most important tools in this game, working together with your comp in order to give you that shiny first place. In this video, we'll talk about each comp, a general playstyle guide, look at items they use, and their positioning. This patch is fairly balanced, so we will have an honorable mention section at the end of the video, so stay tuned. Before we dive in though, make sure to check out the link in the description and get to see all the content we'll be uploading for you guys, created by the top challenger players around the world to help you get better and hit that first place in your games. We recently launched TFT coaching as well on ProGuides.com with really active and awesome coaches just one click away from helping you climb that ladder. So I will see you guys there. With all that said, let's dive into our top comp for 10.10, and it is Rebels. Our favorite Star Wars reference is still on top, but with a twist this time. Jinx is still good as a carry, but a new challenger has arisen. Ziggs is back, and as a 1-cost, he can guide you through the dreaded Rebel early game, one-shotting enemies left and right, reminding us why Riot had to nerf his mana on patch 10.7. The rest of the comp plays the same, aiming for a Jinx to carry your AD items, and a GP for the tank stuff, but you essentially don't rely on Aurelion anymore, and can transition to him later if at all. Instead, Gangplank becomes a larger priority, replacing your Rumble and giving you that sweet AoE stun. Starting with playstyle, Rebels with Ziggs plays a bit differently. You are actually a terror in the early game, but it's quite dependent on items. You have to start with a tier on the carousel and hope you get Seraph's Embrace or Luden's early on. Then you slowly assemble your Rebels with Yasuo, Malphite, and Sona, as well as add units like Graves, Blitz, and Rumble to get interesting synergies like Demolitionist or strong standalone skills like Graves Blind. Yasuo is a decent Jinx item carrier now, so you should put 2 AD and 1 defensive item on him to help Ziggs carry. With the newfound focus on early, you don't do the usual fast H strategy, but roll down like the hyper roll comps after Crumbz, getting that Ziggs 3-star. Then you ride on that sweet Ziggs damage. You can also 3-star Malphite, but don't tunnel vision too much on him. After Ziggs 3-star, you should primarily focus on level. You usually position anywhere you like, just remember to have Ziggs and Jinx get as many buffs as possible. Be careful of Mana Reavers on GP or Shroud of Stillness on your whole team. It can wreck Rebels due to their clumped positioning. If you get a Rebel spat, you should want it on GP and you should position him accordingly. Looking at items needed for this comp, it depends on if you're going the Ziggs or Jinx version. If you get a lot of tiers, for an early Seraphs, go for the Ziggs version and get double Seraphs and a defensive item or Ludens. If you get AD items, you can go straight to the Jinx version, skipping the 3-star Ziggs. That costs a lot of gold, and if you have no items for it, it won't be worth it. That's it about new Rebels. Remember, the comp is quite popular right now, but it's very scoutable early. If you see people buying Ziggs and putting mana items on him, you might want to avoid it and play something else. The next comp we're going to showcase is Kayle and Friends, a snowball comp. Kayle has graced this tier list before, and she's here again, stronger than ever. She already was popular as a versatile and stable comp, but she's exploded this patch, especially due to the comp's strong mid-game with an amazing late-game to boot, since Kayle just ascends and deletes the opponents. To play a Kayle comp, you aim for 4 Chronos and an item carrier early. The 4 Chronos are essentially Ezreal, Blitz, Shen, and Kate or TF, with Wukong subbing in if you're lucky. You can use Xayah, Lucian, or other units to carry Kayle's items, with Kai'Sa acting as the future Misfortune's item carrier. Try to build an early win streak and transition after you find your first Kayle. If things are good, fast to level 8. If things are bad, you might have to roll down on 7 to find Kayle, and then win your way back to a healthy econ. The final comp looks like this. Slotting in Celestials, Brawlers, and or Mana Reavers is your choice, according to the lobby and what units you manage to get. Positioning is fairly straightforward. Try to protect your Kayle from infiltrators and blitz hooks. Putting a Quicksilver Sash on her and a Trap Claw on Misfortune is a way to corner both of them and not to have to worry too much, but that's not always possible, so be careful. Let's look at the items for Kayle next. She needs Rapid Fire Cannon and Guinsus, but can function on 2 Guinsus if you can't find that third bow. The third item is hotly contested between QSS and Guardian Angel, but I feel QSS is really a bit better right now due to all the demolitionists prancing around the arena. MF items are anything you can get your hands on, with a preference for mana items and Trap Claw or another QSS. Tank items can go on a brawler like Cho'Gath, Shen, or even Aurelia. That's it for Kayle. She is possibly the top comp this patch, not because of its peak power, but because of its consistency and stability. Try to run Kayle when you get the items for her, but be careful of contesting. There are only 12 Kayles in the pool, and if you don't manage to get her, your mid-game transition will fail, and we certainly don't want that. An interesting way to scout for future Kayle players is to look for Gwynsus. In the current meta, it's a Kayle-only item, so if you see it, you know that person is most probably going Kayle. Our final comp for this showcase is... Boom? I don't really have a specific funny name for it yet, like Candyland, so let's just call it Gangplank and his sorceress friends. Yep, you heard it right. GP is back in the spotlight in a comp that makes use of his 10.9 buffs and turn him into the primary carry he was back in 10.6. The playstyle for this comp revolves around going through the early game, buying up all the sorcerers you can get, and putting GA, Rabadons, and QSS or Trap Claw on an Ahri. Try to 2-star all your sorcerers and do not roll, only level to 7 and 8 to get GP. Try to leverage vanguards like Poppy and Jace who benefit from spell power to give your early sorcerers a front line, as well as Star Guardian and Poppy skins. When you find GP, you sell the Ahri, give him the items, and you're good to go. The final comp looks like this. You can use Jace as the 8th unit to farm some extra gold, or a Wukong to get Chrono, which boosts Xerath a bit too. If you manage to get to level 9, go for 8 sorcerers for even bigger damage. The items are focused on AP, but only after you get at least GA for Gangplank. Do not play this comp if she does not have a GA, since he always casts with it, and him casting his ultimate is pretty much your win condition, especially once you get the larger area upgrade. You can put any tier items on Vel'Koz, and don't worry about bows. Xerath will be happy to take them off your hands and use them to rain terror on your enemies. At least those GP hasn't bombed to infinity yet. This comp is actually not that popular yet, so always scout the lobby early and try to go for it. You'll get amazing results with this comp, so make sure you try it out. Now for a little update on the rest of the comps and the honorable mentions that did not make the top 3 list. Unlimited Blade Works, or Shredder, is our first honorable mention, remaining at S tier, as the contest levels have gone down and you no longer need 3 gloves for it. Deathblade is much better on Xayah, and she makes an even better use of Celestials due to the consistent huge numbers she pulls out when she stacks it a bit. Brawler Blasters is the second honorable mention, retaining its reputation as the most consistent comp in the game. The only difference is that Last Whisper is once again more of a fringe item, since Candyland has largely disappeared for now. I still like building it just to be safe though. Mech Infiltrator is still an A tier comp. Due to its lack of contest, it's easier than ever to run it. Its mid-game has gotten really weak, so be super careful while running it. I found success with running mech items on sorcerers and Poppy early, then transitioning as I go, and that's just one way of waiting that fizz pull out. Cybernetics are also still stable, and Deathblade is doing work. It is currently better than Infinity in most cases, and Aurelia just destroys enemy teams on her own even better than before. Candyland is still fine, just a bit nerfed in damage due to TF taking a hit, as well as suffering a bit more in the mid-game. The Invincible Poppy being a thing of the past. High rolling it will still get you a first, so don't be afraid to go for it if you get a lot of early Poppies and TFs. The K6 comp is an interesting newish comp, revolving around putting 2 Ziggs Heralds and an RFC on Kha'Zix, hence the name, leveraging Void, Brawlers, and Infiltrators to get him and Vel'Koz rolling. If you get those items, this is actually an amazing comp to win with. You hyper roll for Malphite and Kha'Zix early, then level normally to flesh out the comp. That's it for this video. We'll be uploading every week on Wednesday and Sunday. Thanks for watching, and make sure to check out our TFT content on YouTube and our high elo coaches on ProGuides.com. If you have feedback for us, comment below and we'll be happy to read what you have to say. Now get out there and farm some LP using the comps you saw here today.